25 years ago, fewer than one Ohioan died a day of a drug overdose. Last year, one died every 2 hours. Ohio is at the tip of America's drug epidemic. But why? We visited to find out and interviewed 100 people.
What's the drug situation like?
Yeah, whatever you want.
The story they told us starts in the 1960s. Back then, Ohio was a center of industry. Good blue-collar jobs were everywhere, and immigrants were pouring in from Europe and moving up from the South.
The Irish became firemen and policemen, and some Italians. They brought in their skills, carpentry, tool and die making. That's what built the city.
By the 1970s, though, a mix of factors started to kill industry. There was foreign competition, government policy, including regulation, a lack of tariffs, and a strong dollar that hurt manufacturing, executives who decided not to reinvest their profits, and unions whose demands made them uncompetitive with foreign workers. Taken together, by the 1970s, American industry was in trouble.
Now that they shut down the fire plant, it kind of went to crap.
After the mills shut down, nobody had no jobs. Come home from the service, I expected to get a job at the mill if it was closed.
No, there's really no jobs or anything here.
First to suffer were the cities. Many people with money moved to the suburbs, while many who lacked it stayed.
A lot of people buried, a lot of people went to jail, a lot of people got the hell out of here before they got buried.
With growing unemployment and falling populations, cities lost their tax bases and became abandoned. The drugs poured in, beginning with crack in the inner city.
Couple years that the drugs came in, the young boys selling drugs and crack cocaine is all around and everybody flourishing. And then the winter came. And the next spring, when I came into the neighborhood, all those young guys that had those cars and were selling that drug, they had gone. They had vanished. That first wave of young men, they had got busted, went to prison or wherever. Then they brought another wave and another wave.
When you say they brought, you think it's the government or something else?
Oh, absolutely, the government.
We won't get into the whole theory here, but many people in the cities believe the CIA and FBI were behind this.
A lot of people think drugs were planted in black communities.
It's not a thought, this is real. I lived it.
It relates to the CIA's support of the Contras, anti-communist militias in Nicaragua, who were involved in trafficking cocaine to the United States. That theory is a subject for a different video. But what's not is the impact that crack had on neighborhoods like these.
Going into the 80s, now approaching the 90s, you had the crack pandemic that hit. It hit the African American community rampant all over the country. There you had a lot of violence at the time, you had a lot of killing. It's just desecrated the African American community.
Crack got a huge number of Ohioans hooked, jailed, or killed. And this, with thousands of people going to jail for drugs, is really when the war on drugs began to hit Ohio. Just like before, those who could leave the cities did, while those who couldn't stayed. Over time, the neighborhoods became worse and worse, and that created room for meth.
A lot of opioids and like meth.
Yeah, it's everywhere. You can't walk out of your door without running into someone that's doing their drug run.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, people began cooking meth in abandoned buildings, especially in Akron and its surroundings. Once the home of Goodyear and Firestone and known as the tire capital of the world, Akron's factories had mostly shut by the 1990s, causing the population to fall. The city's location near major highways made it a convenient drug trafficking spot, so people began cooking meth in the city's abandoned buildings. Soon, Akron was known as the meth capital of Ohio. At one point, the DEA counted 395 meth labs and 900 meth-related sites just in Akron County.
We heard it's the meth capital of Ohio.
Yeah, Summit County.
Still is?
Yes. Bad. All these kids out here, man, they're on fentanyl, they're on ice, they're on all kinds of crazy.
Now, if you're enjoying this video, please subscribe. Our mission is to capture the world as it really is without bias or fear. What we're doing in the Rust Belt will soon be doing in California, Mexico, and Pakistan. No place is off limits for our reporting. Until the 2000s, illegal drugs had been mainly concentrated in big cities. A group of companies were about to change that. In 1995, Purdue Pharma secured FDA approval for OxyContin, a long-lasting and potent pain pill, without conducting any long-term studies on its addictiveness. The drug, an opioid, was initially hailed as a breakthrough. Purdue soon realized that the drug was addictive, but this, to the company, was a good thing. It meant that those who got on it became repeat customers. So it hired McKinsey, arguably the world's leading consultancy, to help get it to as many people as possible. In parts of Ohio, there were soon 80 opioid prescriptions for every 100 people. Purdue, McKinsey, and other companies concealed the addictiveness and dangers of Oxycontin and other opiates. They sought to get it out to as many people as possible. This has been proven in the courts, and the companies have paid billions of dollars in penalties.
I got burnt. I was on fire.
They prescribed you pain pills in 3rd grade.
They prescribed me Vicodin, the cough is the big Vicodin pills. I'll never forget it. I was in the 3rd grade. The lady at the window at the CVS said, "Do you want generic or the real ones?" I want the real deal. I don't even know what's happening. I'm in school itching, nodding, 3rd grade, gone. And from then on, it was just bad. Then they cut you off the pills. You like, what's wrong with me? So you get out here. Same shit.
So what do people, when they cut you out the pills, then what do you do?
Shit, buy pills off the streets.
These drugs made it into every kind of neighborhood, black and white, rich, poor, but they were particularly common in towns and cities that had lost industry. Places like Youngstown, Ohio, or Appalachian, Ohio.
What was the first time you had fentanyl?
When I was 50, I never really done drugs. I broke my back in '96. I was paralyzed and I had to work myself back. All they ever gave you were pain pills. I didn't know you could get help for them when I was 50. I didn't know.
These towns became flooded with opiates, and once people were hooked, they turned to street drugs.
I started buying street drugs. I started off with the heroin, but once when I had to taste that fentanyl, it was nowhere near the same.
This is how prescription pills paved the way to heroin.
My high school sweetheart died of a heroin overdose.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Probably like 15 to 20 kids I went to school with have all died from heroin overdoses.
Then, in the late 2010s, fentanyl.
Kind of came to a peak in 2016. We had nearly 1,500 overdoses that year, but right now we're seeing around 600 a year still. We call them hot batches. When they would come through with maybe more fentanyl in, we see significant spikes, 10, 15, 17 calls a day.
Fentanyl, the deadliest drug yet, caused overdoses to soar.
The first 4 years of my EMS career, it was very rare to go on an overdose, and now it's a everyday occurrence. I would probably say on average between 5 to 10 overdoses a day.
Killed so many people that got addicted or is dead.
Really?
I actually even saved a couple.
Did anybody die from drug overdoses?
A couple of my friends did.
Do you guys have friends who've OD'd and shit?
Walking Memorial, man. Yeah, I've had quite a few.
Taking all of this together, you now have 3 illegal drugs circulating widely. Meth.
In my opinion, it's meth.
Meth, yeah.
I mean, there's heroin around, but I think meth is the big problem.
This used to be a town that there was zombies walking everywhere, all opiated out, but now it's all methamphetamine.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad down here.
Why?
It's all coming up from the south. They've been busting out cartel hideout spots down here in Liverpool and over in New Manchester, West Virginia.
Meth. When someone's on meth, what are they like?
They do all kinds of weird shit, like buzz around, and I don't know how to explain it. They're just weird. They're just weird. I don't know. They just some of them the chemical took over the brain because the brain wasn't developed, and there's so many chemicals in that meth that just takes over the brain, and they get stuck where they're at. You know what I'm saying? Like they done when they're 14 years old, they got a 14-year-old brain. You know what I'm saying?
Crack.
Have you seen a lot of people, a lot of friends, people you grew up with go down to drugs?
Yeah, my best friend. He on crack now. I'm like, man, that's crazy. I grew up with him.
How does someone change once they get on crack?
Oh man, bad. Like real bad. Like especially the females that I grew up with. They out here tricking and shit. Just nasty. I'm like, damn, she used to be bad as hell. Now she just, ugh.
And fentanyl.
I've seen girls come in at 20 years old, asking for fentanyl, telling they're sick. I'm like, you're only 20 years old. You shouldn't even be thinking about no drugs. You should be thinking about school or...
Fentanyl a big problem too?
Oh, hell yeah. There's a lot of people dying of that.
And that's newer, right?
No, it's been around. I've seen so many people die from it.
Uh-huh.
It's terrible.
I use fentanyl. I tried to kill myself 5 times with it too, but it never killed me. I snorted 2 grams of it on the 5th time. But once when I had to taste that fentanyl, it was nowhere near the same. I done it because it felt good. You didn't have to deal with reality. You could just sit in your home, just be a bum pretty much. And the only thing you worried about your next fix. And I'm sure everybody else that's on the street deals with the same stuff.
Combine all of this with alcohol abuse, and you get a state where someone dies of an overdose every 2 hours and where drug violence is rife.
My one kid I graduated from actually was shot and killed a couple months after graduation over $20 of weed.
I imagine this must be a difficult neighborhood to be a recovering addict in.
Oh my gosh, it is crazy around here. In this area, like a lot of people get shot around here. You hear gunshots almost every day around here. You in the wrong spot in the gunfire, man, you get killed easy. Even in situations where my neighbors have gotten into it and gunshots have hit my house right in front of me, and I'm like, whoa, like this is serious. Like, it just took my life.
Someone got killed right here. At the carryout?
Shot him twice, came back, shot him again, and he got in the car, went over there and died.
Right across the street there, I worked over there 15 years.
Someone said there's a shooting there the other day.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, I got killed, man.
A friend of yours?
Yeah. I know.
So why does that happen when that happens?
He's selling bad drugs.
It's all about drugs.
Yep, drugs. Drugs and money.
Someone doesn't pay or what?
Right. Well, he sold bad drugs. That's what happened. $400 worth of...
Sold bad drugs.
Yeah, $400 worth of meth. It wasn't meth. It was DMC or some other shit they make it look like meth or whatever it is. Yeah. So he did. Sold it to the Crips. And the Crips retaliated. That was the Crips that did that shit.
It's a group of 5 people that's from here.
The city is.
3 out of them 5 people have been shot. Wow. Guaranteed.
And now 7 times.
You've been shot
7 different occasions. Yeah.
Not no second shit.
Yet, this reporting taught us that there's hope, and it's in how people are fighting back. In some places, it's through community.
They'll come through that door on drugs, but after a while, they get cleaned up. We've had quite a few people that's given their life to the Lord that's been down and out without a home. You just love them. You just gotta love them.
This is fitting for Ohio, given that it was in Akron that Alcoholics Anonymous was first created back in 1935. Other places are getting millions of dollars from the companies that were responsible for the opioid epidemic. They're putting this money into prevention and the widespread use of Narcan.
So it's a statewide program that addicts, their family members can actually get Narcan.
How does that work exactly?
It blocks the opiate receptors in the brain, so when you overdose on an opiate, basically it depresses your respiratory drive. And Narcan goes in and blocks that receptor so that opiates can't do what they do.
We're not getting called to a lot of overdoses anymore because a lot of people are self-treating. They're administering the Narcan, they're not calling us, not involving us, so.
And in other places, it's through sheer force of will.
When did you finally decide to get sober?
When my wife left me, my oldest daughter told me don't call her back until I'm not a drug addict no more. That hurts a lot. It gave me motivation.
The impact that drugs have had on Ohio cannot be overstated. In its 4-decade battle with illegal drugs, Ohio has suffered hundreds of thousands of casualties. Whether it's finally winning remains to be seen. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you enjoyed it. Our next videos will be from Gary, Flint, and Detroit.